Hi, Svitlana.
Hello, Arne.
Nice to see you. It's time for some new smart moves. What is on the chessboard today?
Today's lesson will be about Mikhail Tal, the eighth world chess champion who was an absolute creative genius and one of the best attacking players in history.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard what his nickname was?
Yes. And right now I forgot what his nickname. The Magician, right? The
Yeah,
Wizard?
the
Yeah, the
Magician from
Magician.
Riga.
The
That's
Magician
what
from
he
Riga.
was called. Because the positions that he would get on the board were just magical and nobody would understand his sacrifices.
Nice. Except him.
The first game, mm?
Except himself, obviously,
Yeah.
hopefully. So quickly for you at home, this game, whoops, this one, there, that one here, you can see in the ChessBase news site. You just go below the YouTube video, you can see all the links in the description, and yeah, then you can just download all the positions and the games. We are adjusting them because too many people were asking, can we also have the analysis and everything on top of that? Yes, we will add this too. So it's all yours. All right, here we go. Mikhail
Mhm.
Tal.
Yeah, the first game we're going to look at is Tal against Keras.
Mhm.
And this was a big rivalry between these two players because Keras played Tal in many games and it was not one-sided at all. Keras was arguably one of the strongest players of his generation that had never became a world champion. But he had very fierce competition and he was still a very strong player. So, anyways, these two always had a fun clash of styles because both were very skilled in complicated positions. And that led to very interesting games.
Excellent.
And we're going to see one of them. So, Tal was white here, and Keras was black. And it started off with Eroy Lopez with these very typical positions. Um, so, for the first few moves, everything is as usual. So, there's not really a reason to stop to guess the move just yet.
Okay.
But yeah, so in these positions, normally white starts to fight for the f5 square and black starts to fight for the f4 square. So this is why black did this maneuver with the knight onto g6. And white is going to try to do that as well after he's done his development. Yeah, so now black continues developing and so does white. For the next few moves, everything follows the general plan that we outlined. So now white is trying to put the knight to f5 and black is trying to further reinforce this f4 square. And now we see this move bishop to g5. And the idea of it is to trade the dark squared bishops. If you compare the two bishops from the two sides, obviously black's dark squared bishop is the one that might have trouble in the future because it's just stuck behind its own pawn structure, whereas white's bishop was doing completely fine. So this trade is actually really beneficial. And if white takes it themselves, then even better to open up the
Yeah,
H
love
file.
that. Can always have the
This
open H file.
Yeah, doesn't seem like something white wants to do. So um, Tal played bishop e3. So for now, just regular developing moves. Now both knights are ready to go to their designated squares. And soon we're going to see the moment where all the tactics start. So this bishop goes there to maybe potentially be an attacking piece on the king side. And while both of them are developing their pieces, now the tactics will begin.
Okay.
So black just attacked the knight on f3. How do you think we can defend it? And do you see a creative way to do that?
Yeah. So for quickly, I have to announce one thing for the viewers. We already started the show like this, but due to internet problems, we couldn't really continue this. So I now remember quite, I think, the next move. But I have to say, I was also pretty spot on during our first attempt, which failed. So we can actually try to trap the queen with the move. Which one was it though? I think it was just knight going to d5 because if the queen takes on f3, this is going to be difficult for black to get out of there when the bishop goes to d1. Was it like that, right? Yeah.
Exactly, that's how the game went. But it was not as simple as the queen getting trapped right away. So knight d5 is correct. It's a good way to attack the queen. And now after queen f3, you are completely right that bishop d1 does look like the queen gets trapped, but Keras had a counter surprise, which was the only way to save the queen.
Yes, and that includes another knight move because, of course, as we can see already, there is a fork on f3. So I think it's knight to h4. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Exactly.
It's very
Yeah,
nice.
it's both of these
counter.
players are, of course, very, very good at tactics, and they're not going to miss such a queen trap, and that just makes the game even more beautiful that it's coming from both sides. So of course now white cannot take the queen because this would just be an extra piece for black. So that would not really be a good continuation from the start. So instead they take the knight, and this allows the queen to, of course, save itself for now and place it on h3, and now the material is surprisingly enough equal, and both of the players are gonna start to attack each other's kings. So now that they're exchanging sacrifice favors, Tal does it again on the next move. Do you think you see the next sacrifice Tal did, and why is it good?
Yeah, I don't remember the next sacrifice, but it could be. I actually don't see a sacrifice. I would have moved the rook to e3 maybe, but oh wait, is it actually?
Yeah, rook to e3, I think they're just gonna take on h4.
Yeah,
Probably that's
yeah,
what
that's the sacrifice
black will
exactly.
continue. Yeah, sure. It's a pawn
At least it
sacrifice,
was a
but
sacrifice.
yeah, but there's a way to sacrifice even more than that.
How did this work? Where was the other sacrifice?
It was done specifically.
Yeah. Okay, so finally I got it again. I think it was knight to f6 with a check because the queen can jump in on h6, and that looks good.
Right, right. So knight f6 is the next amazing move, and it's a very tricky one. So now black kind of has two options whether to take it or not, and both of them are equally complicated. So in the game, Keras didn't take, but we're gonna still look at the variations that if he did take, what did Tal have prepared? So you said queen h6?
Yeah.
To right away get close to the opponent's king. Now, let's say black is going to play e to d4.
Yeah, that's annoying.
So what was the whole idea of opening up this g file?
I guess.
How can we get?
I guess the king can go to h1.
Exactly, king h1, and rook g1 is a huge threat. And now, well, technically black has only one way of correct defense, and everything else would lose.
Yeah, it's probably the knight has to defend on e5, I guess. Yes.
Yeah, not e7, but on e5, and that's also a very important distinction because from e5, we're getting the g4 square for our pieces to get to the defense. If we could defend on the on g6, I don't think we can defend on g6 actually, because for example bishop f5, just to bring the bishop over there, it's not going to work because rook g6 is going to be pretty deadly here, and the next rook is going to come and
that's
also assist in the checkmate.
Over.
Exactly. And if we play knight here, you are right that the idea is much better than going on g6. It's going to g4, and this was white's the only line where white doesn't win. This is black's only defense, and it is bishop to g4. It's important not to play knight g4 because this one traps black's queen once again with rook g3.
Very cute.
In the last in our previous recording, we actually discussed rook g4 for a while, and we were debating on
Yes.
this queen against two rooks, and I was here on the side of black, and you were here on the white side,
True.
and you were trying to debate which side would be better
Yeah.
here, because material imbalances are always a very ambiguous subject, and it sometimes really is a matter of personal preference. I don't know. I always like the two rooks over the queen, but of course the queen also has a lot of counterplay here and very good attacking chances. So that was an interesting discussion. But of course that's not even necessary because rook g3 just wins the queen.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that would not
And
have happened in
to
the
solve
game.
it for you, very likely the rooks are just superior in this situation. I thought the pawn on h4 was stronger, but after we were taking a look at how strong the rooks can interact and get the pawns going, the rooks were better. So material imbalances is the Fritz trainer that you made. If you haven't bought it yet, come on, guys, really. This is always free content, free lessons for you. More than 50 series. Can you believe it? We have more than 50
Yeah.
series right now. It's all free lessons to get better at chess. So material imbalances, the Scotch game, you can choose whatever you want to. It's all in the description below too. Okay, that was my little advertisement for you. So here we go. We continue.
Thank you. So the way to save it was bishop g4, so that now once rook goes to g3, there's no queen trap, and this bishop is preventing, the rook from attacking f1, and so this is going to be just a repetition.
Yeah, unpleasant.
So that was the best that black could do, and maybe either Keras didn't see it or didn't even believe in this position, which is objectively equal, but still very difficult to play with a king like that. And instead of doing that, he played king to h8. So he didn't accept that sacrifice, and instead he sacrificed his own rook, the one on e8, because he thought he could continue his own attack.
Can I ask, you cannot take the bishop because the knight will get trapped in the next move, correct?
The bishop? I mean, you can also just take it back with the queen, right? Yeah.
Oh,
this is also
okay, never mind.
I know. No, it's a very far diagonal.
Yeah,
so
it's too far away for me. I mean, people with my level can only think for 4 squares ahead, not 5. That's too much.
So instead he takes the rook, and black is still going to have an attack going on. Rook e6 is a big threat as well, and the bishop can join in, and Keras is trying to turn it around and put Tal in the in the defensive shoes, which he's not really used to doing because he's a very attacking player. But it's also important to make that distinction that all of these great players and world champions, even though they were known for one direction, that doesn't mean that they didn't know how to defend or they were a bad positional player. Of course, if they got to that level to being the best player in the world, that means that they were universally very well developed, and they just had one direction where they were much better than everyone else. And that's also the case with Tal, as we see here that although he's now on the more defensive side, he still plays a good game, and although it's not, well, he did end up winning in his style, but he even manages to go from a defensive position to an attacking one. So black plays queen h5, winning back the pawn for the exchange, and we get to around here where the attack starts to build up, or fizzle out. Depends how you look at it. So here, how would you evaluate this position? You see that white is up in exchange, but which side do you like it for?
Yeah, white is up in exchange. That is quite good, but I cannot see absolutely clear advantage for white yet, because those pawns can be unpleasant. If the knight makes a maneuver and gets into the game on the king side, it can also be a bit stupid for white. So I think white has to. Oh well, yeah, it's unclear. Let's say it like this. I think it's unclear. I wouldn't know what side to prefer here.
That's my trick. Whenever I don't know, I say it's unclear.
You just, yeah, exactly. Yeah, very easy, very dirty trick, but yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I would say that white probably is on the a bit better side because although it does look like what black could have potential in the future, but so far just the bishop and the queen is not really enough to make huge threats. Plus, this bishop is getting traded right now and it has no choice.
Yeah.
And when that happens, you see how right away it looks more safe
but now it
for
looks
white.
much better.
Yeah. And if the knight was on f4, maybe we would be having a different story. But the knight is still not participating in the attack, so it's so the attack never really came to life for black. But that still means that the game is not easy, and I mean black has a knight and a pawn, so it's not a huge winning advantage, and white still needs to prove that that he needs to prove that he's better here. So Tal continues to activate his pieces and to start playing on the more attacking side. So although he was on the defensive, now we see that the tables are really turning, and already we see that white is on the side that's dominating. But still, there's some precision needed. What would you play for white now? What kind of plan would you choose?
Well, very, very good position to try to figure out a crucial plan or move. Well, there is an idea maybe to provoke a pawn move. So if I give a check on f5 with the queen, the pawn moves to g6 maybe, instead of the king going back. And
but the king could also go back, right?
Well, then I would just double up the rooks.
Okay, on the G file. Then I would probably play either f6 or knight. No, not f6. Maybe knight e6 is even better.
Knight e6.
Attacking both the queen and defending on g7. No, it's still a fine plan. I think it's working out okay. There's one move though that is a lot more like restrictive than the others, and
I'm still calculating. Sorry, I'm thinking of knight. Yeah. So rook g3. I'm sorry for you at home. I have to just see if it's really happening. Knight, queen to f5 check.
When you want to know, you just want to know. Okay, so now you want me to play g6. Yeah.
Well, you don't have to play g6, of course.
I was gonna say I'm not gonna do that, but I'm actually even calculating it now because
I think this is working for white.
Looks.
Queen moves the only move. Now now the knight goes in between.
This is where I was curious because I wasn't completely sure.
And the rook goes to g4. Yeah, this is working. But that cannot happen.
No, this is not working. Yeah, queen f8. I like it. I like it for...
But very unfortunately, black doesn't have to push the pawn forward at all. So...
Yeah, that's what I was curious what happens in this one, and rook g4 was a nice find. But yeah, the normal move is just king h8, and it's not always
so little fun like this now. Okay, so we're going back to the main idea.
Yeah, but it's not anything special. It's just a more restrictive move than the checks, because oftentimes black's defensive idea is something like f6 to also have a queen protecting, but we can kind of restrict them from that idea.
Is it e5?
Yeah, e5 was actually the move that gave like a better advantage compared to the others.
Found it, I guess. And that was just the hint you gave me now, but
yeah, but it's like it's not that obvious of why it's so much better than the others, but I do think it's because of its like restrictive properties that now black can't play f6, and also the fact that now you don't have to worry about the e4 pawn ever being, captured. Because before that, if a rook leaves, then like the queen takes it and some checks, and you just don't want to deal with that. So I think it's a combination of these few things. But after that, after the game got closed down, we can continue your plans with the rooks, except the rook of Tal went to h3.
Okay.
And trying to have ideas on the h file in addition to that. Now, if black had played knight e6, we can have one of your sacrifice ideas working out. Do you see
Well, I
it?
have to calculate
What can white do?
quickly. I just have to mention one thing. Just earlier, the move f6 doesn't work. So if you listen to something like this and you don't know why Svitlana said that or mentioned that this or that variation is not working or something similar, then you should just stop the video, maybe replay it for yourself, check the position. You have all the time in the world to do so. So f6 wouldn't have worked because, yeah, it would have just, I think, gone checkmate after all. Now, back to this sacrifice here. Is this working that I can just give a check on h6 and then a queen check on f5, which was kind of my original plan? The king has to go to h8, the queen goes to f6, check, the king has to go to h7. How do...
f6 they'll take.
1 second. f6?
Queen f6
True.
they'll take. No, it's way simpler than that. I think you're overcomplicating
Did
it.
I?
This is not working. This they're gonna take. It's way simpler than that.
Okay.
Checkmate in 3?
What? What? Is it just the check on f5 now? What?
No. Who's responsible for your tactics?
It's
Is it
Lawrence
Trent?
Trent. Why am I not seeing this?
Not happy with it.
Oh, now I see it finally. That took a bit far too long. I hope you at home saw it too. It's G7, a G7 check, of course. Oh no. Don't nobody
G7.
tell Lawrence, please.
Yeah. And it's a checkmate in 3, which is a very typical idea in
That's
checkmate
nice.
pattern. The same thing if king takes. Exact same story. So yeah, anyways, queen f8 happened, and exactly protecting against that, protecting both g7 and h6 an extra few times. So now Tal does a bit of shuffling, and honestly, I think he made it even more complicated than it should have been. But I think he really, I don't know, enjoyed making it, getting himself to the point where he can only find one winning move, and like it's all or nothing. But of course, there were many other ways to play that position. He just chose his own way of shuffling pieces. So now he makes a check, goes back to h5. So he wants to make a threefold repetition. Of course not. He doesn't. He would never want to make a threefold.
So funny.
I'm joking.
Isn't it just like a g7 check again and it's mate? Yeah.
No, but there's a knight now, and
doesn't matter.
It's different. You still want to do it? So let's see. If the knight takes, then we're gonna take with the rook and checkmate on h8. So I think the king is gonna take, though. What happens there?
Yeah, that might be a bit more tricky.
Yeah, and now there's no g5 check. Super annoying. And there's no g6 check. So yeah, I actually don't know how.
h4, rook f1, rook g1. Yeah, but it's of course messy. But it's funny.
It sounds like
Black cannot move right now. It's really interesting.
It actually is a fun.
But
well, they're gonna play whenever the rook moves. They're gonna play maybe f6. But starting with h4, yeah, this is kind of funny that Black
I
really
mean, in the
can't move.
worst case, the queen takes the rook at one point and black can try to get into a fortress, but I doubt it will work.
Yeah. But when you have the previous position, why would you sacrifice
Yeah,
a
why
whole
would
rook
you do that?
when you're just winning
I
regardless?
agree.
So we'll get to the final tactic that Tal wanted to do. So now he gets himself to the point where his pieces are like even hanging and only one idea is good. Do you think you can find it? The final
Of
winning blow for
course,
Tal.
it's super, super easy. It's a super cool move for you at home. You can check it.
Stalling.
She got me once again. Why am I so simple? Now, I'm already seeing once again this variation rook takes h6, rook takes h6, but that is very messy. That is,
You're on exactly the
yeah,
right track.
is it working?
Which rook do you want
The
though?
f takes on h6 takes back.
I would think this is the
Oh,
harder win. Out of the two rook takes, this is probably the more complicated
rook
one,
takes.
but still doable. H4, your previous
Yeah,
idea would be nice. Yeah, this it's just a bit harder because you're gonna need to find
gee.
a really nice move now.
Oh, gosh.
Do you want me to show it? Because you're not even gonna look at the direction
Okay.
probably. Queen
I don't
G5.
know. There, it's
And
with
I just
check.
like
That's
the
why.
rook
Yeah,
endgame is
it's
winning.
beautiful. That's nice. Oops.
The rook endgame
That's
is
nice.
winning like that, but it's sometimes when you're attacking, you're not even gonna look at at a queen trade suddenly. So this is why I think this is the more complicated rook takes. But you are right about rook h6, but this one is way simpler. And the reason for that is that we don't have the defense on g5 of the queen, so we're kind of like this queen is still cut off. So now in case of capture, we have h4 with much better force because there's no f6 or there's nothing on the f file that opens it up. And that would be winning, but the game itself just went on for a few more moves with knight here. And despite that both of the rooks are hanging, he plays queen h5.
Ooh.
Is just a really beautiful move that ends it off. And whichever rook gets taken, it still leads to mate.
Undefendable.
And yeah, and that's
Brutal.
how the game ended. Surprisingly, he was defending, but then turned it around to
The
do
thing
an
which he
attack
likes the
himself.
most. Nice one.
Yeah. Do you want to
Let's
look at
take a look
another
at
one?
one more. Yes. Good. So this time, Mr. Tal is black, huh?
Exactly. Yeah, we're looking at another example of his. This is a shorter game than the previous one, but he still wins in his nice,
Oh,
usual
and he was
attacking
young. I see
style.
it's from 1957. What a, well, younger at least.
Yeah, this this game was played at the
Mm-hmm.
USSR Championship in 1957, so it was still a big tournament back in the day, and Tal actually won that edition. And I'm sure he won other ones as well, but this was also one of his wins. And the opening we see is actually the Benoni. You don't
True.
get to see it that often at the top level anymore, but still a very fun opening. It's very double-edged. Um, and the pawn structure is very unbalanced, and the opponent, so as white you'd get a lot more space, but black has a lot of ideas of his own, and Tal is going to show one nice sacrifice idea that worked out for him. So have you ever played this opening before, or have you seen the main ideas that
The main, no,
he
I've
was
never
saying?
played it before. I just never ever used those
Okay.
moves, but I have looked into it because of a private course, chess course I made. So it's quite interesting. It is, as you said, double-edged, and that is, it's very funny. Also, it's interesting how many people actually still play it. Like, so it's playable. One of those playable openings which you can yeah, even play in a real over the board game.
Yeah, of course. It's is just not
Yeah.
as solid as what modern top players prefer. But of course, it's still very good, and and yeah, it's just that engines really don't like things like Benoni, King's Indian, and
Those
because of
engines.
lack of space. But that's just engines. So the main ideas for black are to play b5 on the queen side here, and to basically attack this one target, which is the pawn on e4. So that's what all the pieces are aimed towards. That's what the knight on c7 is doing. And for this reason, white plays a4, all the regular ideas so far preventing b5. And whenever that happens, black cannot play that anymore, but they can still try to do it with b6, a6, and b5 later. So that's kind of how these things go. Black tries to play b5, white tries to push more in the center with things like f4 and e5 and to break through. Now we're soon getting to the tactics. So this was a pretty dubious plan by Tal, but he had a provocative idea in mind. And after h6, h3, what do you think black
Without
can
a
do?
single second, I would play queen to h4 because I'm... But what was that?
Okay.
Yeah.
Queen h4. Well, I'll take the knight.
Yes, I know. I mean, can I play... normally I would take back, but here I'd look at f5, but it doesn't happen. No, it's just stupid.
It is not queen h4, but still
how
keep
about taking on
that attacking.
Oh, there is a nice spot after all. But how to... Yeah, it is knight to f2 because the king cannot immediately move back after a queen check on h4. Otherwise, we would just win the rook. So the king has to go to f1 to retreat, because I don't think the pawn move is very helpful either. That's damaging too much, I think.
This one, yeah, it would be a bit...
That's just checkmate, right?
A bit too much.
Yeah, it is.
There's probably many checkmates, but I like this one.
Oh my goodness.
I like this one. We could have even made it a tactic, because you guessed knight f2 too quickly, so nobody even got a chance to calculate this far. But okay, let's calculate what happens on
now we keep the pressure up, I guess. So there's two options I have in mind, which both include a bishop. Either we go to d4 and threaten checkmate, pretty straightforward, or we take on h3.
So I like your bishop d4 idea, because it's a forcing one, and like you like it's forcing, plus you make another piece join your attack. So whenever you're attacking and you see a move that only has one response, for example, like here, only way to defend f2 is like knight d1.
Then I see the next move already then. So for style points, I would take on h3 with my queen, because it's the so-called, is it Bowden mate or something? I'm not sure, but there is a mate name for that.
I don't know the names.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's not just for style points.
It's not working with the bishop.
It's not as good with the bishop, but you're right. Also, you just have you seen this game before? Because you're finding these so quickly.
I haven't.
So maybe
it's just like the motive is clear. Yeah,
the tactics are coming to you.
Lawrence is doing a very good job.
So, of course, and rook a3 is the defense on bishop takes.
Good defense.
And it's still looking sketchy, but the rook joins pretty well, and it's not really that much of a win for black anymore.
Yeah, bishop cannot go to d7 now to threaten checkmate on h1 with the queen, because now...
He can. Well, no, he can. I don't know. Like, the game just goes on. It's just no immediate checkmate. What defense did you see?
Oh, no, it's not working. Whoopsie. So can the bishop go to f3?
As long as
Yeah,
it
it
defends
looks
from
like the
mate,
bishop can go to
we can do
f3,
it.
and then the king can step out of the mate threats. If the queen would have taken,
Right.
then you have to immediately stop the checkmate, which is not possible.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the huge difference. And even, I mean, I don't know, you could even give this one a try so that
Oh,
it goes
cute.
to a6. But even if we go for this variation, I still don't really see, I
Yeah.
still don't really see the mate. While
No,
all the
but
pieces
it's
are
very, very
working.
kaput anyway. I mean, there's pieces hanging
Yeah,
everything.
so queen h3. Queen h3 is, of course, the better one and the more stylish move because
Hmm.
right away there's mate. And we can use the same idea, except he even did it in a bit of a different way. So instead of wanting to go on h1, he
Oh,
went to h2 to play queen
okay.
on g1. So that actually has a big difference. Is that like is that whenever that knight is gonna move on, like if the knight ever moves or if any of the pieces move, the defense kind of falls apart because white's defensive idea was this. So basically, you just don't want to play queen h1 because king e2 and your queen is attacked. So you kind of keep that idea for later. The queen was, I mean, couldn't stay on h3, so it went. So you needed to go somewhere. So you went somewhere where you keep all the
That's an
ideas without
interesting
executing them yet.
idea and motive after all. Yeah. Oh, what? I was so sure.
And we played. Oh, I should
Yeah,
have
I
made you
didn't. I
guess
didn't
it.
expect that move. I was pretty sure it was a6 with the bishop check. But yeah.
No, no, that didn't happen yet because they have an easy defense of knight c4, and knight
Okay.
c4 wants to go there anyway. So that's why you want to open up the f file. Um, and now your nice bishop a6
Oh,
idea comes along. So you notice how all of Tal's pieces are
yeah.
participating in the attack. Although, just one move ago, both rooks are not and the bishop isn't. But you need to make every move with kind of a purpose, and all of them are working. And I really like that about his style. And I think it's a good attacking
Get
principle
all the.
to
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
know.
So now, oh, the rook goes there. Oh my god. It's so funny. I
Yeah,
was
I mean,
pretty
the
certain
thing
that the
was,
game was already over, but that's how I feel very often when I'm thinking of a good move. But then there's so many more moves.
no, true, it is pretty much over, I would say, because white pieces are really stuck and they can't move, and it was just, yeah,
Sure,
it's just
okay.
too difficult to defend. And it's only for a piece for two pawns. Black has two pawns, white has a piece, and it's not clearly not enough compensation to
Uh-huh.
be tied down for the rest of the game. So the reason why there's just a lot of good moves. So I don't want to make you guess it and then like it's gonna be
Yeah, okay, I
just all
gotcha.
of them work anyway. So he doubled up
Hmm.
on the e file. Once again, you every single move that he makes does something, which is a very important skill to learn in an attack. Well, this one you can try to find a tactic, I guess. Yeah, okay, this one is all right. Which one of our last pieces isn't doing anything yet?
Oh, well, the knight. So how do we get the knight
True.
involved? Do we just... No. What can we do? Can we take on d5? No, not really. Doesn't look good. Bishop takes back. Rook takes. Knight takes. Check. King goes there. Oh. What? It's not working. Where do we go with... It is working?
Yeah.
No.
I'm just wondering what's wrong with mating on G1.
Oh, nothing. It's totally fine. It's very legit. Nothing's wrong with that,
Yeah.
to answer that question. Oh, why didn't I see that?
Yeah.
I
You were exactly
I
there.
went
And
with the
then
queen on h1 to give a check for some far out reason.
that gives
Yeah, that's
mate 2.
also mate. What the heck? Oh no.
You just
Yeah,
didn't notice that
true.
there's another rook that
Whoops.
protects C2.
Okay.
Yeah. But you saw it and then declined
Yeah,
the
I
mate
shouldn't do
in your
that.
head.
If the mate is
That's
in your
exactly it.
head and you're sure, you should go for it. That's a good rule for chess. This is what I learned today.
Yeah.
But wow. This was
Yeah.
it's still continuing. What
But
is going on?
well, no, it's not continuing for long. It's like Tal just won back the piece, and it was too much for white to handle when even more pieces start falling. So yeah, the game ended right there.
Did it? Why can't?
Yeah.
Okay, I mean. So what
Yeah,
happens if
sure.
the
You
white
want
queen
to take
takes?
the
Mate
mate in 2.
in 2? Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Never anybody ever share this episode to Lawrence, please. This never happened. You saw it too, right? Okay, so it's queen taking on g2, and of course, I don't know why I was so scared. I thought I cannot. My rook is how do you call it, in a pin. But
It looks
who cares if it's checkmate after all? Nice.
exactly. Yeah, and this is why Tal's opponent, Vukhuti Gurjanidze, resigned right after bishop takes c4, and it was a nice one with a lot of tactics. I know we skipped over some of the middle game, but there were a lot of good moves and a lot of ways to win. But it's a good way to learn to attack from Tal, to see how every move has a purpose, to see how all the pieces participate, which are to me the two biggest attacking principles to learn, and of course to see tactics like this to win the game even
Quite beautiful.
to end the game even
yeah,
faster.
now you at home also know how to attack like Mikhail Tal. I hope you can use it to your advantage for your next over the board game or tournament or whatever is coming up. Yeah, this was really, really nice, Svitlana. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it too at home. We see each other soon again. Bye-bye.